room. For our last conversation today, we're going to focus on design, which of course informs how we experience new things. Design as the bridge between technology and our daily lives. And I'd like you to all join me in welcoming Yves Béhar. Come on up. So nice to see you. How are you?
Thank you.
Grab a seat.
I'm good, I'm good. Do I sound okay?
Can we all hear him?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I think we're
Great.
good. So you are a really difficult person to introduce because you wear so many hats. I mean, I will reel off. You are the Chief Creative Officer of Jawbone. You are the founder and CEO of Fuse Project, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. You are a design guru, which is how you were first described to me, social entrepreneur. With everything on your plate, tell me what you're focused on. What were you excited about when you woke up this morning?
Well, guru is not an official title. I
Not guru.
don't know where that comes from.
Not a capital G.
No. So what do I think about when I wake up in the morning? I'm really interested in change. I grew up in Switzerland, where not a whole lot changes, and couldn't wait to come here, to come to a place where change is kind of the everyday conversation, from somebody on the street, from somebody tweeting you, from every meeting you have during the day. Everybody's talking about the next thing they're interested in, they're excited about. And so I see design in a way that it enables change, that it makes change palpable to us. You know, we hear about anxieties that people have about humanity, the environment, our energy consumption and everything. And you have to sort of deal with the idiosyncrasies of kind of modern life, with the with the fears that we have every day, and at the same time, what design does, it makes really the future something that we can believe in. It's for me, design accelerates the adoption of new ideas. Nobody believed in an electric car really, until a great one was produced, and some of us, were able to get it and experience the fact that it's actually a superior product than what was there before, right? We always thought about the electric car as something that was going to be an inferior product. So nobody, ever got excited about a thermostat until, my friend Tony Fadell, made a thermostat that, for some reason we all felt we needed to get. I love sort of looking at things that are unexpected and that are going to be that are going to kind of take us to the next to the next generation of things we need to live in a way that we want to live.
Let me stop you on that point and follow up on a couple of things you said. The electric car. That's something that's actually on your plate right now, is figuring out a new way to charge it that's actually going to be convenient. Tell us about it.
Well, I've worked over the years. We did some work with General Electric really, really early on the smart grid, and then the Watt Station. A few years back, and then the residential models as well. But back then there weren't any great products, so it wasn't something that people got excited about. But
what is this project?
This is a Watt Station. This is a street level electric charging station. We actually put two of them in front of our office in San Francisco about a year and a half ago, and people were just like, that's ridiculous. You're just putting it there for you, for your car, and there isn't, And now people are competing for the two chargers that are in front of the building. We have Fiat 500s, we have smart cars, we have Nissans, we have Hondas, we have all kinds of electric cars, and we have all these neighbors that are sneaking in and charging their cars and running away. And so now I need there would probably be 10 or 15 of them in front of my office that would be in full use.
And from a design point of view, what is it that excites you about that, as opposed to?
Well, this was in the early days of thinking about electric chargers, but so it had to be street resistant. I didn't want something square that if you were skateboarding and you ran into it, it would slice you in half. So I was looking at something kind of friendlier, rounder. It also it tells you from far away, so the rim around the outer part blinks red if you're charging and green if you're not charging, because if you're driving around the block and you're kind of wondering if this one's
park.
right, exactly. So there's and then the other thing is this is one of the first IoTs. I think it launched Internet of Things, because it's actually connected, right? It's connected to the cloud, so it recognizes your identity, and it gives you.
It texts you when your car is charged and you come back out.
I don't know that it does that. My car does that, so it's interesting because now different kind of functionalities are done by different parts of the system. But this was the early days of thinking about how hopefully there will be some way to charge our vehicles, our bicycles, our skateboards. I mean, you have all these companies launching all these products, and do it at the street level, do it at the public utilities level.
Another project I want to ask you about.
Sure.
Tell me if I'm wrong. You have no keys in your pocket right now.
That's true.
How many months since you gave up keys?
So I gave up keys. It's funny because this is not something I've told very much. It was just like a little a post I did on Instagram. But I co-founded August Smart Lock, and it really was. We really did that at the emergence of Bluetooth LE, which is a low energy Bluetooth system, because I realized that instead of tapping a phone or entering a code, I could just walk towards my door and the door would unlock. And that is actually a real magical experience, and it made it worth starting to build a company, building a product around it. So about 8 months ago, I installed some pre-launch version. 6 months ago, the product launched. So it's been about 8 months that I don't have keys in my pocket. And it's amazing, like, how you get rid of these idiosyncratic, habits, which is like doing this, tapping your pockets before you leave the house, looking in your bag, worrying about things. And now I feel like I've removed a little part of, the sort of, the problems that kind of run around in
the worry sector of
the
your
little
brain.
worry, just a little bit. Maybe I took out like 1%. But if we start taking like little bits out, and our kind of everyday lives are simplified, I don't need keys anymore. Up 3, which is a Jawbone, Up 4 actually, which is a Jawbone new product launching, which has payment integrated in it, also means that I won't need my wallet, which that's actually pretty cool, because the other thing you do this for is your wallet.
Unless you leave California. I mean, this is the other challenge.
Yeah,
You've
sure.
got to have the machine
So you
that
need
can
to
read the Jawbone.
yes.
Yeah.
So you do need, sometimes there is 5 years between an idea and actually seeing massive kind of adoption of it. So essentially removing these everyday kind of worries is really sort of cute and interesting. But really, what it changes is your attitude towards your home. So on my phone, I have 7 or 8 keys that are like friends' places, office, etc. I can send an invitation for somebody to come visit me on a scheduled basis, or it changes the nature of the home, because now the home has an identity, has a way for me to control it from afar and make things happen that I wasn't able to make happen.
Well,
before.
and there's business applications too. I mean, I was out in
Yes.
California a couple months ago interviewing one of the founders of Airbnb, and when I read about your idea, I thought, oh, that would be really useful instead of having to go get the keys. One other thing you're working on that I want to ask you about, because it made me giggle when I read about it in the New York Times. The headline was "Tools for the Gentleman Farmer."
Oh yes.
Explain.
So we've worked for the last, the Internet of Things, the connected objects, connected products and infrastructure around us has been something that I've been fascinated about actually since 1999. Before there was Bluetooth and before there was Wi-Fi, widely available. But so I think this is 2007 or 8. And then we started to think about connectivity on the body. So with all these different sensors.
Wow.
This is because I'm testing different versions of all the same product. So
I'm scared to sit too close to you. There's so
so
many signals emanating.
Oh, it's very light compared to your phone. There's a lot more emanating there. But so these
the gentleman farmer. We're digressing.
Right. So sensors and the Internet of Things on the body. Then the house with August. And then, I met Jason Aramburu, who is the founder of Eden, which is a sensor that you put in nature. And it was fascinating to me to think that, okay, now we have them on our bodies, we have them in our houses, and what can they do for us in nature? And it turns out that we, as some of us unfortunately do in California, is that we overwater our gardens a lot. And that seemed to be a very obvious sort of first application for the product. But it also senses soil quality, light, humidity, and essentially helps you select what plants to plant and maybe harvest, supports you, helps you in how to take care of your garden.
It's literally something you're staking in the soil, and it's
do I have one
communicating with you and telling you what you need to do.
Yes, this one right here. So it has a small solar panel on it, and it communicates through an application about the quality of your soil and how it's changing. So you're really kind of babysitting your garden. But what I found interesting with that is, when we start to garden, when we start to take care of our gardens, and we kind of bring our children into it and whatnot, it's a financial investment, because actually those plants are not cheap, and the maintenance isn't cheap. It's an emotional investment, because once you start a growing garden, you don't want it to die. Everybody has these horrible stories about this plant dying or their garden dying, and so people make this emotional, financial investment, and this is a way that you can keep track of it, so it doesn't go to waste.
It's so interesting to hear about some of the things you're working on and some of the areas where you've had success. I often find at these events that some of the more illuminating stories come when people tell about their failures.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be willing to share your biggest flop, or something that you just have not figured out yet?
Well, when you're a designer, when you work at the sort of crossroads between physical, digital, we have an experience team, we have a brand team as well. Failure is really like every day. Like when we built, there's nothing that you succeed at when you first try it, when you first do it. And so, I'm much more used to sort of just everyday, failures, everyday sort of just picking this up, picking this prototype, picking this experiment up every day, and just continuing with that. So, it's just about learning about those failures constantly. An example is the sail chair for Herman Miller. We made about 70 prototypes, and 70 prototypes to simply find a way to reduce materials dramatically to create an affordable product, but also a much, environmentally speaking, a much lower carbon footprint on the product. But you had to kind of repeatedly convince other people that you were eventually going to succeed, even though everything you do has problems. Inherent problems.
You have to convince yourself too. You don't see those as 70 failed chairs, but 70 opportunities to get it right the next time.
Yeah, that's important, and it's important. I think it's important to stick with to have the kind of a vision and a direction, and that more or less that territory is the right territory. That people want it. That if you get there, when you get there, it's going to be it's going to be the right place for this product or for this new technology to be in. But same with August. Figuring out a mechanical system that rotates doors and that's consistent with sensors. It's most of these things they're not they don't actuate things. They don't, rotate a deadbolt. They're not mechanical. They're not, and this is really like a robot on your door. So, I mean, we failed miserably on that project a couple of times before we were able to make it something we felt was ready to launch.
All right. Anybody have stories, questions you would like to pose to Yves Béhar? Let's see. We've got a hand up right here. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. So your innovations are pretty fascinating, but could you tie it back to the millennials theme, and what are some of the attributes and aspects of your innovations, including the brand elements, that you think are most appealing to millennials?
Well, I think what millennials are looking for are new experiences. Not specifically new products. Not specifically. They're not specifically looking to own things either. So the products that we work on can make you achieve that need for an experience. I think for learning. I think people really want to learn all the time. To evolving to maybe a place, maybe more of a thematic place where I would want to be. Meaning, for example, people want to live more sustainably or more efficiently. They're looking for that. They don't know exactly what is where the next solution to that aspiration is. And so I think everything we do has to tend towards important aspirations that go beyond simply the notion of I need the latest of this or of that. And I that's, for me, that's sort of a compass for the work. It ends up being things you can buy, but eventually it makes you a better gardener. So it's not just about the product. It's about taking care of a garden and learning some new things.
Another question. In the back here.
Hi, my name's Russ. I actually work for Wearable World, and we have a project with the city of San Francisco called Wearables and IoT for Cities to solve the problems of San Franciscans.
Yeah.
How do you vision yourself in 5 to 10 years? How IoT and wearables solving our common problems as a citizen?
Sure. I mean, there's a couple of products that are out there already. There's a parking sensor that's embedded in the asphalt, for example, that allows the city to know occupancy, I guess, of parking spots.
Okay.
In real time. I find that fascinating because I want to know about that. Somehow that data, it would be nice if it flowed back into my phone when I'm looking, driving around looking for a parking spot. But I do think that when it comes to cities, city governments providing services that are useful to its citizens, it's not just about them gathering information so they can deliver better services. In a way, it's the notion of delivering that information to you directly. So I think there is going to be, hopefully, there is going to be more sort of civically oriented IoTs or technologies simply that we can access and then make decisions about the situation that we're getting into, whether it's driving downtown or looking for a parking spot. I think there's more. There's a lot more there. I don't hear enough, going on there. I know that we've been lucky to work with the city of New York on a couple of projects, including the New York City condom, which
The New York City
condom. Yes, New York really wanted a branded condom, and that was actually under Mayor Bloomberg, and we
Not literally, we hope, but we'll move on.
But it was a fascinating project in talking about the values that design brings. They were having a hard time distributing about 9 million condoms for AIDS and teen pregnancy prevention in kind of bars, restaurants, clubs. pool halls, like places like that. And then they were like, well, if we brand it New York City, and we create better dispensers, if we make it a more beautiful thing, instead of it being in the back, in the bathrooms, maybe people will pull it forward. And within a year, they distributed 39 million. So, more than 4x in that distribution, simply because the city got involved in the design of it, the story of it, selling it better to the people of New York.
Since we've already taken the conversation down a notch just now, I'm going to ask one last question. And this springs from the fact that it's nearly cocktail hour, at least on the East Coast, where I just flew in from. Which brings me to asking you about energy of a different sort. You were the darling of the most recent Milan Design Week.
Oh, yes.
Because of something called Alchemy Lounge.
Right.
Mixing the cocktail of the future. Explain.
So I've had a partnership with SodaStream, which is a very interesting company because, and I got involved with them about 5 years ago because there's something that really bothers me about all these little plastic bottles. Actually, this looks bad, that we consume, and I've tried to kind of rid myself of, sparkling water that you have to, purchase in advance and carry to your place and consume at your place. So SodaStream essentially allows you to carbonate your water at home. You do it very efficiently. The bottle is reusable 5,000 times, and that's why I started working with them initially. After 5 years of work and new machines and really kind of recasting the brand, we worked with their engineers and we developed a way to carbonate alcohol. Any alcohol or any other thing. Like if you carbonate orange juice, the orange juice tastes a lot better because some of the acidity is removed by the bubbles. But when you carbonate alcohol and you make cocktails, the whole sort of mixology world changes a little bit because you're adding that new ingredient. And rather than adding it with soda separately, you add it directly to the product that you're making. So it was a big kind of sort of oopla of demonstrations and party in Milan where two things happened. First, mixologists are very excited because they can be creative.
They can carbonate tequila.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. They can carbonate anything, and so they have this new ingredient. That's why we call it alchemy, because it's a new ingredient, magical ingredient you can add to anything. But also the consumer, there's a screen on it, and the consumer can learn. I don't know how to make cocktails, but people ask me for this and that, and I'm like, I can go look in a book, and this directly on the machine will help you kind of walk you through how do you make it, and then carbonate it exactly at the right level where the thing isn't going to blow up, because what happens when you shake a beer or wine, or when you carbonate anything, actually it kind of explodes. But the technology allows for the very, very slow release through sensors and pressure valves of the gases, so it all stays in the bottle.
Okay,
So it's a good discussion for cocktail hour. Unfortunately, I don't have one here to demonstrate.
I was going to say, this is the
next
starting
year.
point for next time, for our
Next
next
year.
conference. It sounds like a must do. Yves Béhar, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in. Okay.